Today I want to dive into the playing of one of the best prog drummers around, Gavin Harrison. Before I get into this analysis, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell notification. If you're a fan of prog, I have all sorts of awesome videos coming up and you're not going to want to miss any of them. If you're not familiar with Gavin Harrison, he was most notably the drummer of Porcupine Tree from 2002 until about 2010 when they went on an indefinite hiatus. But he's also played with King Crimson, The Pineapple Thief, and a bunch of other artists. Porcupine Tree was a super influential band for me when I was first getting into prog, and Gavin's grooves and approach to rhythm have had a major impact on how I approach rhythm when I'm writing my own music. We're going to take a look at 3 of his incredible grooves, and here is number 1. First up is Circle of Manias from the last Porcupine Tree album, The Incident. The riff here is a 9/8, and there are 2 different grooves I want to look at. In the first groove, the hi-hat is playing 8th notes and heavily accenting the even-numbered hits as well as the downbeats of each measure. The dynamics in Gavin's playing are a huge part of his style, and hi-hat accents are present in a lot of his parts. This keeps his grooves from sounding too robotic and makes them super musical. Here are the 9 8th note beats. The longer lines indicate the accented hi-hats, and the shorter lines are the non-accented hi-hats. Even though Gavin is playing all of the 8th notes in each of these measures, the accented notes are really what's being felt as the pulse. In this first groove, Gavin accents the downbeat of each measure, really driving home this 9/8 time signature. That means there are 2 accented hi-hats in a row coming into the beginning of each measure. Another thing to keep in mind with all of these grooves is the snare placement. In this groove, the snare is hitting with important parts of the guitar riff. Gavin does this a lot, as opposed to always playing a normal backbeat. He's really good about having his drum parts play off the other instruments and help enhance what the other musicians are doing. The second groove here is still over the same riff, but here the accents are going over the bar line, giving a steady quarter note pulse. You can see this really clearly with the longer lines. This technique is called overriding, which is the subject of my last masterclass lesson, which you can check out here. Having a steady pulse over an odd meter can help to make it groove and feel more natural. Notice in the second groove the snare is now hitting on beat 2. This gives a little more of a backbeat feeling, which also helps to build up the intensity in this groove. Now on to groove number 2. This is the bridge of the song Halo off of Dead Wing from 2005. Here we're alternating between 9/8 and 4/4, which is a total of 17 8th notes. The riff is actually 17 16th notes long, and here's where that pattern starts. This fits twice into these 2 bars. Honestly, I think it's really hard to feel this 17-16 riff because of what Gavin is doing here. Once again, we have 8th notes in the hi-hat with quarter note accents. This creates a quarter note override that takes an entire 4 measures to line back up on the downbeat, making this kind of feel like a measure of 17/4. This also makes the 17-16 riff feel a little bit different every time it happens, because it's being felt in relation to that quarter note pulse. This adds a lot of syncopation and makes the riff groove harder here. Gavin also does a heavier groove over this riff, where he's playing quarter notes on the crash and accenting the downbeat of every 2 bars instead of every 4, and he's doing this by doing these cymbal hits at the end of bar 2. It's a small change, but really effective. Now let's take a look at groove number 3. This is the chorus of the song White Mist from the band The Pineapple Thief. This uses another common Gavin Harrison technique called displacement. The idea behind displacement is to move where the downbeat is being felt. Typically, this is done by moving everything back 1/8 note. Here's a basic 4/4 groove. On the third bar, the kick and snare are going to get moved back 1/8 note, displacing the beat. Gavin likes to use this idea to spice up parts that are all in 4/4, to add a little bit of interest and to throw off the groove a bit. In the chorus of White Mist, he does exactly that. The phrases here are just 4 bars of 4/4, but he displaces the beat 1/8 note back in bars 3 and 4. This gives the effect of shifting meters and accents the guitar parts in a really cool way. The displacement here is done during breaks in the vocal line, so it's not interfering with the melodic hook. This is just another example of how Gavin's playing is complementing what the other musicians are doing. Unlike the porcupine tree examples we looked at, here Gavin is playing a straight backbeat, but look at how intricate his part is. There are ghost notes filling up almost all the space, accents in the hi-hats, cymbal hits, and he's keeping the hi-hat going with his left foot during the tom fills. Even when doing a basic 4/4 groove, he's always coming up with ways to make his parts a lot more creative than most drummers would. It's this attention to detail that makes him one of my favorite drummers ever. Even if you aren't a drummer, there's a lot you can learn from studying great players. Drums are one of the main factors in determining how a song sounds and feels, especially in rock music. By digging into the writing of drummers like Gavin, I've been able to create a lot better drum parts for my own music, and it's really helped to add detail and depth to my compositions. I'd recommend taking the time to analyze the playing of great musicians who don't play the instrument that you play. This has allowed me to think less about the guitar when I'm writing music, and more about how each instrument is adding to the overall composition. If you enjoyed this lesson, subscribe, hit the bell notification, like, comment, share, and let me know your favorite Porcupine Tree song in the comments. Till next time, stay proggy.